power of money. I remember a friend of mine telling me, pull out a dollar bill out your pocket and squeeze that dollar bill. Can't you hear that eagle scream? That's the power of money. Respect for the wisdom of elders in the community. Diverse entrepreneurs have a tendency in our communities to be able to go to people who have gone there before them. In other words, there's this intergenerational transfer of knowledge. We will sit at the feet of individuals who can tell us about their perils, but at the same time tell us about their business success. We always have an attentive ear to listen in terms of individuals who have tried and tested the turbulence and who have tried and tested the turbulent waters. The importance of minority entrepreneurs in minority communities. One, there's a shrinkage of wage labor among large corporations. As a result, diverse groups are faced with looking for other economic avenues. We are in a recession right now. People are being laid off each and every day. Smart people are being laid off. Educated people are being laid off. So what do people do? They have to find another avenue in terms of economic subsistence. And entrepreneurship is one way. Neighborhood enterprises tend to keep money in the community. I remember my friend Tony Brown saying that in the African American community, that dollar only goes around once or twice. But in other minority communities, and especially within the white community, that dollar travels 6 and 7 different times before it leaves out of those communities. So the question becomes, in neighborhood enterprises, how can we keep that money circulating within our communities? Also, neighborhood enterprises hire local residents and tend to be more reflective of the community where they are located. Also, in minority communities, there's a direct relationship between minority entrepreneurship and minority employment opportunities. Also, neighborhood and local role models. Charles Barkley likes to say he doesn't want to be a role model, but I like to say the majority of the entrepreneurs in diverse communities want to be a role model. And matter of fact, they're probably the greatest role models of anyone in any given sector. Do not, and listen to me, follow the politicians. Do not, and listen to me, follow religious leaders. Do not, and listen to me, follow no one but the business class, because the business class will be the one that will set the example in terms of not just the free market society, but the business kinds of values and ideas and ethics that we need to have in order to remain globally competitive. The politicians will let you down. The religious leaders will let you down. The people who run nonprofit organizations will let you down. But it is that entrepreneur who gets up each and every day and cuts the light on in their shop, who turns the light on of the major corporation, who gets online and does business in a high-tech scenario that will be the one that will allow you to remain economically viable. So, who are these diverse entrepreneurs? Who are these diverse entrepreneurs? Well, they're Hispanic entrepreneurs who came from Cuba and settled in Miami and established an entire city among entrepreneurial culture, stocked with small shops, stores, business firms, financial institutions, which ultimately became known as the Cuban Miracle. This group of former refugees and exiles established entrepreneurship and institutional building at the center of their community's agenda. In other words, Dade County, Florida is no longer the same and will not ever be the same again. They are Mexican Americans whose collectivist approach to family, friends, and business contacts have transformed the United States, Southwest, and West Coast. They are Asian American entrepreneurs who have the highest rate of business ownership among all the diverse groups. They are Asian Americans who serve as the standard bearers for the entrepreneurial spirit. And there's no wonder that President Obama wants to hire the former governor of the state of Washington to be his commerce secretary, for the simple fact that that gentleman's family came to America to set up small shops, but at the same time to educate their children and to get them to understand that in America, education and entrepreneurship are the great pillars in our American society. They are Korean Americans who heavily participate in the dry cleaning industry in Chicago. They own liquor stores, gasoline stations, hamburger stands in Los Angeles, and compete in New York City's fruit and vegetable markets. There are Pakistani Americans who have shown remarkable strength in the U.S. marketplace, particularly in the ownership of hotels and motels. And I'll talk about the Pakistani business class a little later on. There are Chinese Americans who have created Chinatowns in New York City, Washington, D.C., Chicago, and San Francisco. These communities are sprawled with shops, stores, and restaurants. And as an ethnic entrepreneurial enclave, Chinatown is a place where Chinese find comfort. They find a place where they can speak their own language, a place where they can share their own culture, a place that provides Chinese a means of livelihood, a place where one can have the support of family and community, a place where entrepreneurship is used to bring children up the right way and the expected way. African Americans and black entrepreneurs who before 1915 were more likely to be self-employed more than any other group in America. And keep in mind that date of 1915. That is the date in the year of Booker T. Washington's death. So up until Booker T. Washington's death, African Americans were more likely to be self-employed than any other group in America. We're the group who built the nation's first minority benevolent insurance and banking institutions, who established Durham, North Carolina, and Tulsa, Oklahoma as Black America's entrepreneurial showcases. Matter of fact, Tulsa, Oklahoma was known as the Wall Street west of the Mississippi, the Black Wall Street west of the Mississippi. It was the place in which Booker T. Washington said heaven had ascended upon him, because he saw an entire set of city blocks, that were settled by ex-slaves from Greenwood, Mississippi, being the mecca of black entrepreneurship. Matter of fact, several years ago, I got a chance to give a speech in Durham, North Carolina in the Haiti neighborhood section. This is the neighborhood section in which the Farmers and Mechanic Bank and some of the major black businesses in Durham were settled. I felt like I was on holy ground as I was giving that speech, and I attributed the facility that I was speaking at and just the ambiance of being there to being on holy ground. Also, in terms of African American entrepreneurship, we used our ingenuity to start black colleges and universities like Dillard here and Xavier in New Orleans, Southern University at New Orleans, Tougaloo College, Southern University at Baton Rouge, Grambling State University, Morehouse, Spelman, and many other fine institutions. We created Ebony, Jet, Black Enterprise magazine. We created Atlanta as our modern day entrepreneurial hub. We welcomed our brothers and sisters from the Caribbean and Africa to set up shops, stores, and enterprises in cities across America. So, now that you know who these diverse entrepreneurs are, what I want to do at this point is introduce you to a couple of entrepreneurs. And I'm going to do it from three different, what I call types of entrepreneurial strategies. The first strategy is that of personal savings and experience. And the person that I would like to highlight in terms of that particular entrepreneurial strategy is none other than Dolores, like to be called Dee Sims. Dee is the president of Legacy Bank in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The bank was opened in 1919 by Dee and three other women. It is an African-American owned, female-owned bank. The bank currently has $230 million in terms of assets. It is the 13th largest black-owned bank in the country, and it has been said it is the fastest growing community bank in the country. Again, personal savings and experience. However, let's talk about Dee's strategy, because it's one thing to know about the bank, but it's another thing to know about the bank's entrepreneurial genius who put it together. Long-term personal savings was her strategy. She used her 401k to invest in the startup of the bank. Now, that means that she spent 28 years at this bank called First Star, and I think First Star was eventually bought up by U.S. Bank. She worked her way up the ladder. She started at the bank as a teller. So she built a customer relationship scenario by working at the bank in terms of a teller. That allowed her to be able to speak to people, know people in terms of their family, know people in terms of their dreams. She did retail banking. And last but not least, she ended up becoming the vice president over 5 branches while she was at First Star. Dee did a lot of business deals when she was at First Star. But while she was at First Star, she just didn't rely on her day-to-day